This month, I'll let the energy help me to prioritize my projects and goals so that I don't have to work so damn hard to figure it all out. Welcome to Moonlit Magic. We're going to unlock each of the major moon phases as we move through this. So you're going to want to watch this all at once to make sense of the upcoming month, and then meet me back here every week to freshen up the energy and remind ourselves what our intentions for this month are all about. This breaks down into 4 installments. Pull out your own cards and play along with us. We'll take a moment. If you have an intention for the month, let's pause if we need to and set it now. Hello and welcome to our new moon in Virgo self-care theme, which is Trust All Will Be Well. We have been doing this brand new 2022 spread for 6 months now, and you may notice that these rituals evolve month to month, and every 6 months or so, things click. Things click every 6 months or so. So now, if you follow Moonlit Magic Self-Care Rituals on Facebook, you can find a catalog, categorized all the rituals and their themes for this 2022 season. You can look them up by moon phase, by season, by element, by theme, and that makes it a little bit simpler when we want to go back and revisit and solidify messages or synchronicities, chapters and situations, experiences that have unfolded for us. We can go back and look at the proof of where the seed was planted and where it all started. So now, as those things make sense to you, it's easier to go back and look into the energy that you want to unlock. Welcome to Virgo season. That's what this is all about. We are moving into the energy of Virgo season, which is a very meticulous, organized, dutiful energy. Organizing things, making everything simpler to use is a beautiful energy to unlock this Virgo season. Now let's get into our messages. Trust all will be well. Virgo season. Grief. Tears are what happens when the ice in the heart melts. Something I do want to say about Virgo, and I think it can be a very anxious energy when that particular, let's say, the duty, it's a perfectionism. Sorry. I'm trying to find the words, and maybe it's that I'm trying to find the perfect words. The perfectionism can almost feel like an anxiety. It can feel like you're doing something wrong when things don't unfold exactly as we plan them. So that's an important thing to remember for this time in our lives, that we need to trust, okay, that even when things are not unfolding exactly as we may like to see them, that there is nothing wrong. That we can't control everything all the time, and when things are out of our hands, it's okay to let them go. So for this moon phase and for this season overall, how these energies reflect each other, that is the message that we're getting. So intention and focus for this particular energy, the mountain. What I love about this is the restfulness and the serenity in this particular energy, in this particular space. Trust. I trust myself and the divine flow of the universe. Again, so this is going to be, there's something going on that we're going to have to rest into it. And what I find super interesting about this is the water flowing down. Almost feels like resting in a time of grief. You know, when there's almost a depression that we're going through, it could be an actual depression, but even that exhaustive energy that we feel, it zaps our energy when we let our emotions actually be expressed, when we are feeling and producing and not pushing through, when we're letting ourselves feel the things and we're not numbing it. It is exhausting, and that's why we tend to not do that. When we have to be dutiful, when, did you see how the theme is starting to come together? And watch it unfold more and more and more. This message will solidify as we move through the rest of this reading, okay? So our intention is to rest into, trust ourselves and the divine flow, the energetic and emotional flow. Water is emotion. In order to have a cup that is full, we have to be willing to, you know what I mean, to pour out. We have to play with the energy of water and understand how it works. So the energy of emotion, we have to let ourselves feel all the things, unlock the emotions and feel them in our bodies and rest into that. Being more tired, there's nothing wrong with that. It might, we get these really weird ideas about what it means when we feel exhausted or when we feel angry or whatever those energies are. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. Emotion there's nothing wrong with feeling emotional. There is not one preset emotion for any particular phase or situation in your life. You are allowed to feel however you feel. So allow yourself to rest into that. Okay, let go, let whatever this is, when the wall around your heart, this icy wall around your heart is melting, and that is going to be fucking terrifying. Okay, it just is. It's always terrifying. It always will be. So understanding that is a collective experience. Okay, rest into it. Satisfying choices. Birch, I am empowered in all areas of my life. So now in this place is to stand tall, okay? To choose to reach for the sky, reach for the sun, to focus on the serenity within that experience. Empowerment is from the core. It's from our solar plexus. That is our core, belief in the core. It's not something that you prove, or it's something that you believe about yourself alone. People can lift you up and empower you in certain ways. They can facilitate that, but they cannot ultimately be the belief that we need to feel that, to believe it. Okay, so it's almost as if, imagine like an affirmation. We have to choose to believe those things fully in our core, in our gut, or else they really don't mean anything. They're just words. Our words, what we speak, should match what we think. What we think should match what we believe. These things should go deeper and deeper. So if we are speaking shallow words, thinking shallow thoughts, what must our beliefs be made of? That's not up to me to tell you. It's up to you to examine for yourself, just as it's up to me to examine for myself. Lessons of self-awareness. Spirit of the North. Self-acceptance. I fully accept myself and know that I am worthy of great things in life. Spirit of the North, think of a compass. True north. Trusting, once again, that what is at the core of you is right for you, is right for your life, there is only the inner compass. Okay, so we can follow the path of others, we can walk along. I think it was a great thing is to walk along others and in maybe parallel paths, to be able to experience that connection, but to understand that all of us have these paths that make us unique and different. None of us take exactly the same path, which means none of us make exactly the same choices. We are all very unique and different, and we will never, ever, ever align with everybody on everything. So no matter how alike we are with someone, no matter how much we love them or care for them, there will always be something about that person that we don't understand. we can walk parallel paths with others, but eventually we will divert. And to not feel the grief of that path separating, to trust that our path is the right path for us, just because it maybe is, it's not the path that our loved ones will be on with us all the time. Every single person that we love will divert paths from us. They may come back. It may only be brief separations, and that's perfectly okay. We could be talking about daily paths. You know, we're talking about career paths. We're talking about just trusting who you are as a unique and an individual person, and not needing someone else's acceptance to fulfill who you are. And so ultimately, anything that leaves, we trust is the proper experience for us all, the best experience for us all, and that things that are meant to come back will. Anyway, advice and resources. Darkness, love that. I open up and allow myself to be nurtured. And again, we're experiencing something that feels like a loss, something that feels almost like an emptiness. And we don't like that, because that feels uncomfortable. The darkness, again, is an uncomfortable experience, because as we go in deeper and deeper and deeper, we can't see anymore. And once we can't see what's going on, we get worried about it. We get anxious. That has to do with the future, right? It really is a metaphor that can work in a lot of different ways. But opening ourselves up at a really, really deep level is going to take a level of trust, a deep level of trust that we can only give to ourselves, that no one can give to us. And I think trusting instinct, as like an animal does, trusting like a nocturnal type of experience, creature of the night. What kind of instincts do nocturnal creatures have? What kind of different sensory experiences do they have? Their instincts, and we may not be highly attuned to these sensors within our own experience, but these are maybe a next level, a thought process. How do people, or not people necessarily, but how does one adapt to experience life in the dark? How can that open you up to stronger experience, more belief? It doesn't have to necessarily completely inhibit us. It's a learning curve. We evolve. So don't be afraid in those moments, right? When it feels alone and dark, when everyone has diverted and we feel like there's nothing there with us, there's nothing to be afraid of. We have to open ourselves. We have to be willing to nurture ourselves for who we are as individuals, and not need that, not need to be poured into by others. We have to be able to figure out how to pour into ourselves. What are those things, those experiences that we need, that light us up, that fill us up? We need to explore those for ourselves. And if we don't have a chance to do that, something is always going to feel like it's broken when we lose something that is maybe not necessarily comfortable in a satisfying, healthy way, comfortable in the way that we don't, in the codependent way, comfortable in a way that we don't know how to live without that type of disruption. Anyway, what? Action steps. The shift, fucking love it. Healing. I am a healing machine, manifesting miracles. Inner healer was also on the bottom here, which you can't see. I don't always point this out, but I do flip this over, and sometimes I tell you about it, sometimes I don't. Sorry about that. Anyway, this shift, action steps. So allowing a trusting shift. Things are always moving and always changing, but again, the flow, trusting the flow. The tears are what happens when the ice in the heart melts, okay? Trusting that as we feel, the more we feel, okay, it creates a trust in the inner compass, the emotional compass. Discomfort isn't always bad, but it means something needs to shift. It means something needs to change. What is it? It could be a wonderful change. It's just when we get really uncomfortable with anything that we do not already understand. Okay, that's what we're talking about. We think that when those things move away from us, it's because we did something wrong. Sometimes we make commitments to things we don't necessarily understand at the time. And when those things move away from us, it is our gift. Okay? It really is. I'm not speaking that for you necessarily in this moment, but it may or may not be a gift. What ties it all together? Now, I have a couple bonus messages right here too, so I don't want to forget to do that because I do forget this from time to time. What ties it all together? Soul loss. I love again that we are trusting. The tears are what happens when the ice melts. What is it at the core of you? Okay, there's anxiety at the core of you. Trusting, okay, the tears, nothing wrong. My power animal supports, guides, and loves me throughout life. Virgo is an earth energy, okay? So often we allow ourselves to be parched, scorched, right? We don't always balance all of our elements out. We don't always balance out our entire, our being. We're not always aware of how we need more nurturing, and nurturing is also water. So considering there may be more loss, more hurt, more brokenness, more healing needed than you really realize. Oh my God, look, got another Virgo message. So here's some extra messages. These are the final messages, everything that brings this all together for the new moon in Virgo. Trusting all will be well. I really appreciate you being here, and this is going to be our final message. Last thing before I give you this final messages that tie everything together, check out the altar cloth or tapestry that I designed. It's this exact layout, and it's a light cloth that you can bring along with you. You can roll out, and there's actually a working QR code that you just scan with your phone, and it'll bring you straight to our YouTube self-care themes of the month. And it's the perfect size to lay out your own cards. So you can literally just lay them out with me, or you can roll this out anytime you want, scan the QR code, and you can follow along or deepen any message for any self-care theme that you need. Follow us on Facebook so that you can click through and see any messages that we need on demand. So go save that album so you can scan through any messages or energies that you want to unlock are available for you. Now, last messages are, you are good enough. I love that. Okay, it's super important to remember that, especially when we feel broken, the grief, the anxiety, feeling like we've done something wrong. There's nothing that we've done wrong, but it's so easy to take it personal. Luck is on your side. Trust all will be well. Luck is on your side. You are good enough. Guidance system. Holy shit. We just talked about this. And this is exactly what I was thinking about when this came up. The spirit of the north and the compass. We've been talking about the emotional compass. When we feel discomfort, that means something needs to change. So learning to trust ourselves, unlock this, the core belief of this emotional spirit. We have to know that we can trust ourselves from our own core. Okay, that our core belief needs to be that we trust ourselves. So whatever our beliefs are, we have to trust that we trust them. We have to be able to go inside of ourselves and unlock whatever that is. So to understand how to do that, you're like, what in the hell? Our emotions are the guide to that. That's what we do. That's what we need to lean on and rely on, is how do our emotions guide us? What do we feel about a situation? And this is when we start to talk about intuition and unlocking that. Feeling what intuition feels like is in your core, does that feel right or does it feel wrong? Does that feel good or does it feel bad? And starting with that, it's going to feel like a roller coaster. But as you start to pay attention to yourself, the intuition and the sensations within your body, you start to feel them more subtle and subtle and subtle levels. And if you trust yourself and you don't numb them out, those sources of intuition stop screaming and they start to whisper. And you hear them at the whisper before they get extremely painful. You start to trust yourself, and that's what the growth in the evolution feels like. Final message, guidance system. I love using my emotions as a guidance system. They show me how close or far away I am from what I want. When I am feeling joy and doing the things that I love, I am in a state of allowing for my desires. I notice when I am feeling low vibrational thoughts and I shift them to release resistance. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Make sure you come back next week for a brand new message, and it is going to be for the first quarter moon. Believe in your good luck. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the first quarter moon, Sagittarius, self-care theme. Believe in your good luck. Last week, we really were focused on a deep sense of trust as we feel comfort separate from us, or people, experiences, things that gave us a sense of certainty. Once we realized that everything is temporary, what do we rely on then? Who do we trust? And if it's not our own core sense of self, we are in trouble because that is our guidance system in life. That is what is going to guide all of our choices, and ultimately where each choice leads. Satisfying on top of satisfying on top of satisfying is where we want to go. That's the whole that's how we control the journey. That's our sense of control, is choosing things, the best possible choice that sits in our gut at that time. It's going to be different for everybody, and that's what makes us unique. That's why we have to choose to see ourselves that way, and we choose to have respect for others in that same sense as well. So as we believe in our good luck, what is the foundation of this experience? Extraordinary. There's a wild and impetuous uniqueness to you that deserves to be honored. Uniqueness. Trusting that whatever loss that we feel is for our benefit, even if it is just temporary, and it may be. That is not, I'm not here to guide that. What I'm saying is, when we feel something that seems like loss, it might be real loss, okay? It might be. When we feel something that seems like loss, where do we go? What do we then lean on? What do we trust in? It should be our own intuition. Trusting that when we focus on that, when we are dutiful in trusting our own efforts, but also releasing the perfectionism of having to have control, in the sense that everything is a situation that is moldable by our hands. We do not always have control in every situation. And if we try to control everything, everybody around us, we end up breaking, okay? So what we are focused on last week is going inward and trusting what's inside of us as things separate from us. What is the core of who we are? What do we want back? What do we trust in? We're trusting in the flow of life. Along with that, resting into our emotions, understanding that what we feel is guiding us, and it guides us in the way that we want to go. Ultimately, when we make choices, the more satisfying each choice is for us in the circumstances presented to us. They might not be very satisfying choices at all, either way, one way or the other. But the more that we honor our unique perspective of the world, the more we trust and honor ourselves, the more we can trust and honor others. If we cannot trust and honor others to create their own experience, if we think that somehow that's going to harm us, we can either create a boundary from a circumstance, person, situation, whatever, and learn from that, right? Create actual space, distance, silence, or not. We can choose to continue to be in that. We have to choose, how can we honor ourselves most in the circumstance? Every person gets to choose. What I choose to do to honor a boundary is not what you'll choose to do to honor a boundary. And we have to respect each other in that. When we can trust one another, in that we have respect for each other in the way that I can honor your boundaries, you can honor mine, even when we don't understand one another's, even when we don't understand, we trust the character of individuals that we have near us, to know that they will make respectful choices for themselves and for us. That is the only kind of person you're going to want in your life. Damn it. Sorry I went so far, but we're going to start to look at the intention and focus. Well-being. I have the divine wisdom of the universe within me, and I openly share it with the world. So as we allow our flow, okay, the emotional guidance system, as we allow it, the intuition to guide us, as we allow ourselves to be guided by the flow of life, relaxing into that, no longer numbing it out, we then are able to model it. I would say not even share it. Model it. I openly model it for others. I openly model it to the world. We say a lot of things, do we not? I say a lot of things as well. I'm not always modeling it, but I do want to tell you, I do sit with it. I do sit with it. When it doesn't feel right, I sit with it. A lot of times I block myself. We all get on our own way, okay? We all get in our own way. That's what we're all doing. It's like, you can blame other people. We all get in our own way. We find reasons. It's fine. It is what we do. But the well-being is like it's a depth. There's a depth of understanding of trust to ourselves, trust to the universe, the flow of everything and how it works, that we can trust ourselves so deeply. That creates what it does is it purges stress from the cells. We stop worrying about the past, about the future, about other people's choices, about their acceptance, about what they want. We start looking inward, and we feel the well-being from inside, and then we're modeling that to the outside. We're not saying anything. We don't have to shout it and scream it and tell other people what to believe. We are able to model a sense of confidence and courage that cannot be faked. So give that a try, okay? Be so confident with your own choices. I'm not saying I'm necessarily there. Some things I am, and some things I'm not. Some things I really gets under my skin, when people criticize me and I don't know why, even though I feel a really deep sense of belief about something. And so that's when we have to choose to look inwards. That's the point. Every time we feel some sort of disruption of our spirit, we look inward. It doesn't mean that our sense of belief is wrong. It doesn't mean that what we're focused on or doing, or it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us. It just means, why does that opinion, why does that opposition or whatever disrupt us? Why does it bother us? And as we continue to look at those things, all it does is strengthen, empower us. So our satisfying choices for the first quarter moon are going to be answers. Well, lovely. Answers are lovely, aren't they? It's time for me to shine. So what's happening here? From this sense of almost brokenness that we were feeling before. Last time we met, let's say, we were feeling very anxious, okay? We were feeling very anxious at that time. As things were changing, feeling like we're doing something wrong, and understanding, I think they're choosing to allow that anxiety to fester. I'm gonna say fester, okay? I'm not gonna say anything else about anxiety because it's poison, just like stress. Fester, not saying it's not a chemical thing, absolutely, you know, it's real. I'm just saying it damages us, and you know it does. It doesn't feel good. It never feels good to be anxious. When we're maybe anxious about like something like exciting, it's more of an eagerness, okay? Antsy. It's a difference, and it might not be, it may or may not be subtle. It might feel the same in our bodies, but it does not feel the same in our spirit. And to differentiate the subtle changes and shifts and feelings that are unique to every sensation, every situation, every circumstance, every relationship, noticing how they feel in our bodies, how that correlates to our minds, and drawing these patterns, okay? Paying attention to how we feel guides us. It's how it guides us. It is a slow process, and that's why most people don't commit to it. That's why we don't believe in it, because we don't sit with it for long enough to actually trust. So getting to the point, I know you usually don't. Last time we met, we were feeling very anxious about the changes. We felt like grief. Things were being taken from us. But what was actually happening was space was being created. And now we're starting to feel more secure, confident, like, oh yeah, wait a minute. This feels right. This feels right for me. I can trust myself. So now we're feeling like we can model this like sense of well-being where this stress is draining from our bodies, the stress that we've been plagued with, whatever that feels like to you in your body, whatever type of sickness, disease, whatever, you know what I mean? There's a certain type of relief that comes in joy, okay? There's a certain type of relief that comes in, you know, the vitality of enjoying the small everyday, appreciating the everyday experiences and the mediocre, the slowing down to feel that and enjoy it for what it is. That's what self-care is. That's what we're doing. We're slowing down to experience life in a way that just feels better. When we trust that that's the way to be, that that's good for us, it comes across in this unique way. We honor our unique needs. It comes across in this way that it cannot be, it can't be covered. It can't be covered over. It can't be stopped, you know, like it's gonna break through the darkness. This darkness here, it's gonna shine through. Okay, and that's what we have to trust in the darkness, that we won't be in the darkness forever. And that's why it's okay to be there. Lessons of self-awareness. Friendship. Love that, because we're trusting, fully accepting ourselves, and that we are worthy of great things. To me, this says that this is a different type of friendship. This is not a type of friendship that we're used to experiencing. This is a next level type of friendship, and it feels different. It's the authentic people that come into our lives, and where we have to trust ourselves and our own intuition, our own core. We have to have the boundaries. We have to do all that work before we can really accept people who get it, who we feel different at our soul level. I am flexible and free to be me. And these people accept you exactly as you are, love you for it, give you the space that you need, honor you, listen to you. You make space for them, they make space for you. There's no, you know what I mean? There's always understanding. There's always room for forgiveness. It's different, okay? It's not shallow. And that's why we spoke about, last time we met, we spoke about shallow words, shallow thoughts. Obviously that would mean we have shallow beliefs. That's why we get disrupted, right? That's why we get disrupted by certain feedback. And we should examine it, because there's nothing wrong with us or what we're doing necessarily. Maybe it is. Actually, you know, sometimes it's meant to shift gears. Sometimes, but that's from our own choice. You know, we have to decide for ourselves, am I meant to shift gears, or am I meant to focus in and double down on what this is? So trusting yourself is key at it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what path you're following. It doesn't matter what's next. If you go your way, or you team up with somebody, or you meet new people, you have to trust yourself in order to have these real, genuine, authentic, beautiful relationships and experiences that you want to have. The most satisfying ones, they come from doing that work of healing, of having boundaries, of knowing who is real and who is full of shit. And you have to know that at your core before you can really honor the time and space for the ones who deserve it. Advice and resources. Forgiveness. My soul sings and dances to the vibration of joy. I think there's a lot of inner forgiveness as well that's happening here, because we were in a dark place before. I think forgiving ourselves, or forgiving even those that maybe we thought we needed to please, maybe though forgiving the expectations of others. There's a lot of different ways that we could perceive that, but it's a softening, allowing joy to penetrate these dark places, and letting go of that grief, like the perfectionism that there is something wrong just because something or somebody doesn't necessarily fit permanently. Understanding that things are temporary and enjoying the flexibility in that creates space for things that feel more authentic to us. And it's feeling. We have to feel through it. What feels softer? What feels more authentic? It's all an experience that takes time, patience, understanding, intuitive trust, action steps, love. I am the divine flow of my soul rhythms and life cycles. So it's a sense of loving the here and now, loving our own choices at this level, at this core level, okay? So we're not, but we're also understanding divine flow isn't necessarily pushy, okay? It's not pushing the experience on others. It's giving you your space to have your experience, and it's giving me my space to have my experience, and letting that be okay for us both. And I think that's what speaks of real confidence in anyone, is when we are no longer disrupted by the opinions of others. So it's important to know yourself, what you believe, because then you can confidently express it, and not from a place of ego, not from a place of this, I told you so. Don't you want to literally, with everything in your core, not because somebody told you so, because you went on the path, you went on that fucking journey, you know at your gut level what's real, okay? And you don't need to convince anybody. That is when you show your confidence, is when you don't need anybody to believe it. You believe it so confidently that there's nobody to convince. That is confidence, okay? Walk your path, go on your way, be set in the direction that feels right to you, and then take the next step and the next step as it feels right for you. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Trust yourself, and you will end up exactly where you were supposed to go, even in the dark, okay? The joy shines through. Singing and dancing as you move through life, it changes. Everything is different. All right, what brings it all together? Psychic abilities. Every little cell in my body is happy and healthy. So this sense of well-being, we start to unlock this like really subtle energetic experience that we're having, where we can trust ourselves, okay, at different levels of energy and experience. We attune to the natural cycles of our lives, of our bodies, of the day, of the earth, of the planets or whatever, you start to feel these subtle energies in and around you. And that only comes when your soul is at peace. Otherwise, we're seeking from a place of almost desperation, right? And we're looking for labels, we're looking for answers, we're looking for something to fill a void. And things are supposed to fill into that vacuum, but they should be tumbled, they should be tumbled through all of our different sensors, all of our different experiences, so we know exactly what we're doing, exactly what we want, exactly what is meaningful to us before we go all the way. That's the benefit of feeling these things when they are subtle rather than when they are extreme. And when we start to have like this well-being all through our spirit, the well-being through this intuitive sense of health in our cells, believing in that, believing in our own well-being, like innate well-being, like we're born to be well, born to be abundant, born to trust ourselves. Then and from that point on, we can subtly feel what needs to change on an energetic level. We start to see the correlation between energy, emotions, the sensations in our body, pain and sickness, all this different stress, all these different feelings, and how do they correlate to us? We start to sense that and trust it, even if nobody else feels it the same way. Don't let pride get in your way. Okay, don't let a sense of proving something, I almost want to say proving it to the world, showing people the way. Don't let that overshadow the actual experience and what you want to accomplish here. Because that can easily, it's a very, very fine line between ego and belief, right? Like sometimes we want to prove we know better, but that's not from that place of well-being in our core. So let's not get those confused. Don't let proving it to other people get in the way of living the sense of well-being, okay? Trusting in it. Releasing anger. Anger is a natural emotion, but I recognize that holding on to it can be toxic for me. I look at the person who has caused me pain and I see them as human, because they are. I release the anger I feel and freeing myself and expanding to love. Realizing that anger is an emotional barrier, okay? Again, all you're doing here is when we feel rage, what is it? what sense of insecurity is being disrupted? You know what I mean? Being triggered in us. There is something. And as we find that on these core, raw, animal instinct levels, we then can start to unlock it as it's there. The opportunity is in the emotion, okay? The deep, raw, powerful emotion can be a beautiful time of meditation, where we can sit in that, be with that anger, move into that anger in a safe place, and get deeper into the core of it, the root of it, why it's there, and what to do with it. I really, really appreciate you being here. Perfect time because I need a drink of water. Join me again next week for the full moon Pisces self-care theme, Forgive. Welcome to the full moon Pisces self-care theme, Forgive. This month we have been working through this trust in emotional turmoil, emotional loss. When we feel empty, what do we do with that emptiness? Trusting that the right things, the more satisfying things will fill in the space when we give that space room to breathe. If we don't rush to fill anything into that space, better things will come. If we give ourselves space to and room to move around, knowing that all the things that are meant for us will still be there, or the right things will come in and create a foundation with us, around us, a network connection in different ways than we've experienced before. We have to trust that just because we've experienced life one way, that it may not unfold that way in the future. And the only thing that sometimes we have left is that sense of self, core belief. And that's irreplaceable. Literally, sometimes there's nothing else to stand on in life. Sometimes everything is taken from you. And when that happens, do you blame yourself? Do you think there's something wrong with you? Or do you accept that life is ever-changing, transformative, and sometimes in the darkest places, we start to trust ourselves unfold, and we have the greatest sense of self once we've walked through the dark places without much light to see, to shine. We've had to trust in different types of instincts and abilities than we were used to before, and that creates a stronger person just all the way around. It sucks. No one should have to, but ultimately all of us do experience something that creates us stronger, some sense of adversity that strengthens us as a person. And then we get to model a sense of trust in our core beliefs and ourselves because we have tested them. So the very beginning theme, this moon phase, surrender. Perfect. Perfection. I could not express this. Never mind. I'm just gonna shush. Sometimes learning to surrender can feel as if you are dying. I just should. Well, no, I shouldn't shut up, because the fact that I said all the stuff I just said before we read the theme always makes me feel so affirmed by my choices, because this self-care ritual of mine is one of the ways that I can very acutely, in front of my eyes, see things changing, see clear signs of things, because sometimes I look out into the world and I don't know what to grasp onto. And so this may seem really, really silly, but to have this ability to sit down and to touch something and to see the words that you need, that your soul needs right now, the affirmation from someplace beyond this time and space, that is priceless. And the more depth that you create, the more expansive and meaningful that it can be, the more resonant it can be. So to do this for yourself, okay, to sit down with me, to have your own cards, just to watch and listen to my messages, to sit down and to follow along with me with your own cards, or to take notes, to use the altar cloth, the tapestry that I designed, that matches this layout and has the QR code that you scan and will bring you right to this message right here. Or, coming to work with me one-on-one and using all of my decks, challenging this for yourself, taking all these random decks that you feel called to, just as I do every month. I own these, I buy them, and then I choose which ones I feel called to based on the energies, and the way the messages come together always affirms me. So what are the small ways that you can see that unfolding in your own life? That is why this is important to me. and why you should find rituals that are important to you that make you feel like that as well, make you feel powerful, that empowered from your core. No matter what anybody says, you see how everything weaves together, and I see it here. Where do you see it in your own life? Sometimes learning to surrender can feel as if you are dying. The ego learns what's hardest, to stop trying to control the whole universe. And that's where we started this month experiencing grief, because it hurts. It hurts to let go. But once we start to get comfortable with the flow of life, we start to forgive ourselves, okay, for what we did when we didn't know any better, when we were in the darkness. Now that we trust ourselves, we feel different. We, even if our choices don't turn out exactly the way that we would like them to, even if other people don't do what we want, we still can make satisfying choices within those decisions, whether to stay, to move away, to speak up, to be quiet. It's always up to us. And as we see that, we understand our power in every circumstance. So intention and focus, planetary shifts. So trusting that as things are illuminated, the timing just unfolds. When the timing is right, it unfolds. And that's what we're trusting for ourselves as well. As we move through time, as we trust the cycles, the patterns, the shifts, the natural cycles that we feel in our lives, on whatever depth, okay, that we choose to know those, that we are being empowered with that light, that illumination. That's what the full moon is for. So as the planets shift, whatever your understanding is, whatever your choice to understand, however you want to interpret this, know that the feeling, the natural shifts in your life, again, whether that's the circadian rhythms and the shifts of the earth, the moon cycles, whatever you're feeling intuitively in your body, know that that's empowering you to honor the energy that you feel, okay? Now we are going to look at our satisfying choices. Meditation, lovely, because that's, I mean, it really, that's what we're doing here. This is meditation. This is focusing. It's a different type of meditation. It's sitting still. It's sitting with clarity. It's sitting with your own answers. And as each one of these answers is unveiled, you get to sit with it. Okay? You get to pause. You get to meditate on it. You get to move forward with however this feels to you. Do you feel like this is fucking complete nonsense? You move forward with that and you don't come back. Do you believe that this is helping you? You resonate. This feels real to you. This feels like I needed to hear exactly this message exactly right now, and I can't wait to come back to the next one. Trust in yourself and what feels real and right to you. The clarity that you experience now and in every small moment of appreciation in your life, every moment that you slow down is an act of meditation, and it is healing you. It is making you stronger. It is helping you trust in the space and in the choices, the focus, the boundaries that you choose to create, okay? Your choice to slow down, your choice to be here, your choice to not be here. Honor it. Honor what you want. Honor what feels good to you. I am open to receive all the goodness in the universe has to offer me at all times and in all ways. Meditation being so far beyond what we perceive it. Meditation being all the sweet acts of self-care. Understanding that even when we don't completely go into a different, let's say, zone of meditation, even when we're not practicing some visualization or following someone else's method, that the practices that we create when we sit in these moments and we take time to be with ourselves with a cup of coffee, we take time to dance, we take time to create something, we chat with a friend, we have a hobby, any of these things that make us feel genuinely fulfilled in our core, that light us up, whether that could be our work, it's up to you. Honoring that will give you just a different perception. You know what I mean? Like, you'll honor it again and again and again and again, and you'll want to be in the company of those who choose to honor themselves and also encourage you to trust yourself. Lessons of self-awareness, a rainbow body, self-love. I approve of myself and love myself deeply and completely. So this sense of freedom that comes from knowing from the core, from the heart, who we are, what we want, what we need, what is satisfying, the sense of freedom that comes from that. Approving of ourselves and loving ourselves deeply and completely means that we have to let our life experience be that it is, that it has been, that whether we had choices or not. There are many parts of our lives where we don't have choice, right? People who abuse our innocence, our vulnerability. That is not our fault. But when it comes to the growth experience, the healing, and what we do with it, how we express it, who we express it at, in what ways, okay? If we build walls that keep us from connecting with people, how we process it. There's nothing wrong with any of it, but the way that we have to understand that building a wall is going to block us from connecting with people, and we have to accept that. And if we're not going to accept it, we can't blame other people for being like, if we're pushing, you know what I mean? When we push people away, we can't blame them for it. And that's the thing. If we need to push people away, that's fine. If we need to be near people, that's fine. But we need to not send the people who care about us mixed messages. If we need people close, we need to let the walls down and let people close. Do you understand? So it's like we have to own our choices in that way. We cannot continue to make choices that harm us, harm other people, and then play victim. Because that is where you betray yourself, you betray everyone else, and no matter what you accumulate by that type of manipulation of others, you will never escape yourself. You'll never escape the core of who you are, ever. You will always feel an emptiness inside of you. And if you are the type that manipulates and hurts other people to fill that void, it will eat you alive. And that's not me wishing that on you. That's just the way it works. Advice and resources. Life purpose. I am the embodiment of passion. And before we were talking about darkness, forgiveness, as we're moving through this, advice and resources, joy, my soul sings and dances the vibrations of joy. We are lighting up here. We are becoming more and more confident as we are modeling that walking through the darkness, where the darkness is where a lot of shame lives. And that's a thing. A lot of people won't access this place. They won't go into this place, this dark, deep place, because they're afraid of the shame. What the shame is a lie. The shame is something that's been built up by someone else, and the shame is what eats us alive. The shame is what eats us alive in that emptiness. We are afraid to go there, to look at it, to access our deep beliefs and surrender. You can never fully surrender if shame is guiding your life. If you are not releasing what you need to, if you are not guiding your own life with your own satisfaction, the shame will turn you into something ugly. It just will. That's what eats you alive. So it's a choice. Every single step is a choice, okay? And it's never too late, but you have to understand that every choice is just a tiny, tiny, tiny choice, and they build over time. The more satisfying choices you make that feel right to you in whatever circumstance you're in, the more you will trust yourself. If you do the opposite, Okay, you make dissatisfying choices, little ones, little ones, little ones. You betray yourself. You will learn not to trust yourself. You will question and doubt and second guess yourself at every turn, and it does not feel nice. So, action steps, vibration. Again, this is, I love this. Again, the exact, this like, you get it. It's a sense of freedom, right? It's emanating from a different part of the body, but again, sense of freedom, feeling that like I trust in something that's beyond me. I trust in something that I can sense in my bones, in my soul, that I don't need to know the answers in my mind. Knowing it in my heart is enough, and that translate like once I start to feel it in my body, all the dots connect, right? And then I understand clearly. And again, this is a shortcut. Okay, now we don't necessarily know where all these pieces come together, but it is a puzzle, and it does give us pieces to look back upon again and again. So when we take notes and go, okay, the self-care theme was forgive, and these are the notes that I got for, you know, for this particular, you know, moon phase or whatever, or the self-care theme or whatever, however you like to read it or label it or whatever, what feels right to you to journal about it or write about it, however you take your notes. But you get to look back and go, oh, that's what that meant, because we give it some time to unfold. We are giving ourselves this shortcut, and we're getting these answers almost like so we can feel a peace in our soul as we move forward. We want to feel this peace, this sense of understanding that the clarity will come if we honor the intuitive choices, the clarity comes, and then eventually it makes sense in our head. Well, right here we get to see things that make sense in our head, but we don't necessarily see where they correlate in our lives just yet, and we can go back and look at that. Again, if you follow Moonlit Magic Self-Care Rituals on Facebook, there is a catalog. It's just an album, but you can see all of these self-care rituals categorized in different ways by theme, season, element, all kinds of things. Just go in there and check it out, because it makes it easy to go in and go, oh yeah, oh, this is the one where I was looking at 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a year ago. And then you can go back and you can revisit this and take more detailed notes about how this unfolded in your life. So trusting that the answers will unfold creates a sense of peaceful abundance in our core, along with that surrender. Like once we surrender, we know that equals abundance. That peace in the soul is abundance in itself. I am aligned at all times with the abundant energy of the universe. This powerful energy flows through me into every aspect of my life. We feel it in our core, and not until we feel it in our core, truly, honestly, does it unlock in our life. So that's why we feel so much wobble. Like on a lot of times, you know, even though I feel and I trust a lot of things, when I don't see them unfold in my life in the exact way that I want, I do feel a sense of doubt. I will distrust myself at times. I will feel like things aren't unfolding in the timing that I would appreciate. So it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like the work is unfolding or paying off the way that I would like to see. And that's when I feel, you know, I feel a sense of a wall, a sense of bitterness or something that arises in my soul that doesn't feel quite right. And honestly, I don't want to earn anything from that sense of bitterness, because it breeds more bitterness. To me, that's the way things work for me. Now, they may not work that way for you, but that's just the way it feels for me when I experience it. And when I experience a block, okay, so I can move through things and it can be very subtle for a while, but once I realize there's some sort of wall, some sort of, it could be shame, resentment, and usually I'll notice it flare up and be directed at one situation in particular, but then I'll also notice it start to mirror, like it'll come up in a lot of different ways and a lot of different circumstances with different people. And And then I realized, no, it's not them, it's me. It's something, there's a mirror inside of me that's being triggered, something I need to look at. And that's the thing, something I need to look at. It's been hidden in this darkness all this time. It's dirty, it's ugly, it's muddy, it's disgusting, you know? That's what I mean, like, it's been covered up all this time. What do you expect it to look like? It's like a fucking sunken treasure at the bottom of the ocean. Again, that there is a meditation that relates really closely to that, and I will put it in the self-care of the month for sure. It's just like going in, we get shamed out of going inward and looking at ourselves on this level. We get told there's something ugly in there that you can't look at because there's something wrong with you, and we're afraid there is something wrong with us at our core, and there's not. There's just not. I don't know what else to say, but there's just not. So we get really freaked out by a life of people either telling us, showing us that there's something wrong with us, and we refuse almost to look. We just refuse to look, and that keeps us from so much I think joy, appreciation, and just self-respect, honestly. Keeps us from true satisfaction in our lives. All right, so this is what brings it all together. Perfectionism. I love this for Virgo season. I am inspired in all that I do. So this is a very dutiful energy right now. We are there's a mirror coming up between this Pisces energy, that's this watery, dreamy energy, and this dutiful energy. So how do we take dreamy and dutiful and bring them together? What kind of magic can that be when we are aligned with our passions, when we are inspired by all that we do, when the perfectionism is aligned with our intuition and what we know is actually best for us and what feels best for us, right? So aligning those things together, perfectionism is just about, like, when I put this altar together, it takes me hours and days to do this because there's a certain way that I like things to look from all angles. And so there's a certain sense of perfectionism. It's probably way beyond anything that's necessary, and nobody else would understand it but me. But you have things like that for you, and there are things that you are allowed to be very, very dutiful and particular about. But just because someone else doesn't see it that way doesn't mean anything is wrong with them. Okay, so you're allowed to be inspired, but don't get caught up on things. Don't get caught up on things. Be inspired and let them like move through you, but don't get caught up on them. The end of a tough cycle approaches, which is a beautiful understanding to have about the experience that we are moving through right now, because this started out just weeks ago. We felt very stuck and heavy, and to know that doing this work means something, to know that it actually comes into play and it unfolds and it actually means something at the end of the day, that doing this work actually changes us. As these rituals change, as my rituals change, I grow. As your rituals change, you grow. Pay attention to what we're doing. Be with whatever feels right to you, whether that's being here or not. If this feels right to you, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you interacting with me. I appreciate you sharing this, liking these videos, because you don't understand how important that is to boost things out in this algorithm nonsense world, right? But I also appreciate you supporting me by coming to work with me one-on-one or buying something from the Moonlit Magic Self-Care apparel or, home store, whatever. All of those are my digital designs, and that supports me in this channel. Also following us on Facebook, sharing reels supports me in this channel. So sharing this video here on YouTube, sharing reels on Facebook, any type of energy that you pour in here is supporting me, and I appreciate that in return. That's why I do this. That's why I don't just do this privately, because I used to. I really did this for like a year by myself, and then I started to record it because I love to have the video diary for myself, and then I love to share how it all comes together, because this is really hard to contain. When I see this come together, it is so powerful for me that I want others to see it too. And it's fun that way, to have a record of it, to see how things come together, how my intuition creates this beautiful experience for me, your intuition can do the same thing for you, whether you're doing this at home for yourself, doing this along with me, whether you use the altar cloth that I designed on your own or along with me, you're taking notes. However your intuition unfolds for you, you need to trust that. Commitment. I'm committed to my growth and dreams. What did we just say? Duty and dreamy. How does that come together? Dutiful, and I think that's hilarious. I set routines and habits that help me evolve into my fullest potential. Even though I may not see the physical manifestation of my desires, I know that they have vibrationally manifested or on their way to me. That's exactly what we just said about trusting the experience, knowing that things are not always going to unfold in the timing that we wish to see them, but trusting that they are on their way, and how it makes our experience feel like when we experience that imposter syndrome, that doubt. When we feel it, it's okay to feel it, but it does create a sense of, it disrupts our confidence a little bit. So we have to know what's real, what's not real, and we have to trust that. Trust that the end of a really difficult situation, being that we could not trust ourselves, okay, is over. And that now we trust our core, and that is where we commit. We commit to what we know is right in our gut. So our dreams, we surrender to those things, and then we commit to the steps that make those real. Thank you so much for being here. Join me next week for the last self-care theme of this month, the last quarter moon, Cancer self-care theme. Take a breather. Welcome to our last quarter moon, Cancer self-care theme. Take a breather. This is the final week of this moon cycle. The energy has been shifting rather rapidly this month, from this sense of emptiness and self-doubt to a sense of confidence, where we're actually modeling that and then bringing new connections into our lives as we learn to trust ourselves in our core. It's bringing a sense of peace to our spirit that has been disrupted or feeling disrupted. Understanding now that the changes that are happening are things that are bringing things about that are for our best. And even though it has been rough and a difficult experience, that now we can start to appreciate our growth, even though we did not deserve necessarily the difficulties. Then now we understand how to take responsibility for our own understanding of what had happened to us, and to make satisfying choices from that perspective shift. Okay, so our last theme, and for this moon phase, letting go. Everything is indeed out of control, and God will hold it all. I can safely let go. When we started this month, we were feeling like things were being taken from us, ripped away, and now we feel this sense of confidence that as things move away from us, it is for our best. That is such a shift. Experiencing maybe the exact same thing, the situation, yet having a perspective shift. That is purely from our own work, the growth that we've done. And most of the work that we've done is just letting ourselves reflect at a deeper level. Look into the dark places and not being afraid of what is there, that the light is at our core. The light is the well-being. And once we start to feel, truly feel the well-being, is where that barrier of stress, or that barrier of grief, or whatever that feeling is, that's really raw, tangible, and almost disruptively, I want to say painful, but it's disruptive, it's uncomfortable, you know something needs to change, and you have to look deeper this time in order to find that change, to be satisfying, and understanding that the light going into the darkness isn't that scary, because the light is actually all the way inside, and that's where it comes from, your core. Okay, it's spiritual light. And once you get all the way into that dark place and you've traveled all the way there and you find the light actually emanates from your core, then the whole experience is illuminated in a different way, right? Trusting yourself and what unfolds from inside of you. So intention and focus, power, love that so much. Empowerment, the empowerment literally is from the core, and it's that illumination from our core. Divine temple crystal, whatever that means. Source, never seen one of those, but if you've seen one, let me know. I am deeply connected to and an expression of divine source of the universe. So again, understanding that is the expression that comes from within us. Okay, we are connected to it because we are the expression of it, and everything that we do is the expression of our beliefs, of our trust, of our confidence within ourselves, of how well we know ourselves. So when we make choices that are that dishonor, disrespect, things that betray ourselves at a core level, we can't escape ourselves. Okay, so when we do things, when we lie or we hurt people out of a sense of satisfaction, or these are things that don't sit well with any spirit. And it doesn't matter how long you've done those sorts of things or how long you've found your sense of satisfaction. It is a manipulation of you and the purity, the innocence, the vulnerability of your own core. You're afraid other people are going to do that to you, so you do it to them first. And that doesn't happen from a loving place. It happens from a survival place. So when you find yourself safe, then you get to give yourself the space to surrender the pain, the hurt, whatever you've gone through. But it's not until you get to a safe place that and it's a privilege. Okay, so I want you to understand that if you don't feel safe right now, that there's nothing wrong with you. You didn't do anything wrong. It's just a matter of privilege that some of us have the safety, the security to surrender. And many of us come from places where we haven't always, so understand that you're not alone, that it's a journey. And if you're not in a place where you can truly surrender, it's okay. But to start to find little bits of space for yourself is important, because eventually you build this type of boundary, this space, this expectation, this want, this joy, this need, this feeling like if I don't make this change, that it doesn't matter anyway, because there is a satisfaction that our soul cries out for that has to be numbed to be silenced, really. And numb is just as painful as pain at some point, right? Satisfying choices. Trust. Once again, with trust. My ancestors are guiding me and loving me now and always. I am open to receive their support and wisdom. This is an even deeper level of trust than what we were talking about before. This is like intuition equals. This is what's being said to you. So when you think like, oh, my intuition is silly, when you doubt and second guess yourself, assume in your intuition, not your impulsive decisions. When you're making decisions from a selfish place, decisions that the better, and again, decisions that betray you at your own core, those don't unfold the same way that you want. So you can lie to yourself and say, oh, my ancestor, I trust myself, whatever. We always know, our bodies always know, our spirits always know, our core. You know in those places. So, you can lie to me. I don't care. Who else are you lying to? Are you lying to yourself? Why am I holding this card? Because we're not here yet. Silly me. We're not. You can lie to everybody. You can lie. You can manipulate. You can get what you want physically, the manifestation of those things sometimes. But the satisfaction does not lie. Okay, so if you have to use up people and things, you will never be satisfied. If it doesn't emanate from your own core. So if that sense of source is not fulfilling itself, you are not truly trusting. That's not the sense of trust, right? The ancestors, the sense of self where you're saying my intuition, I trust my intuition so fully that I know that is my spirit, generations before me, guiding me. However I see my faith, that's how I see that. That's the support and wisdom that is being offered to me by all of the forces that are non-physical beyond me that I believe in. But you know in your core that if you're bullshitting, if you are, you just know, your core knows it. And I'm not calling you out. I'm saying your core knows, at your core if you're full of shit or not, okay? So ultimately, you can manipulate circumstance, but you cannot manipulate satisfaction, and you will feel emptier. Again, that void eats you alive. That's the type of void that eats you alive, okay? When the shame that eats you alive, when you're afraid to go into your core and you use people up as a distraction, in these different ways, that in your core, even if you've always had to do that for survival, or that's what's been modeled to you, again, you will still feel dissatisfied, and it is up to you at some point in your life as an adult to find the satisfying choices, okay? You have to go find them sometimes. It's not easy, but eventually, if you do find yourself in a safe place, and you have the privilege of surrender, sitting in safety, quiet, security, and sitting with those things, then I want you to understand that it's the quiet, if you can find those places, that's where it's able to emanate from. And so if you don't feel like you're able to go into these deep places, it's because you need to focus your energy on survival on the surface, and that's okay. But just remember that that's not the ultimate. That's not where you want to stay. So start to shift your thinking, like, I'm worthy of more. I'm worthy of more than whatever this experience has offered me. And I don't have to perpetuate it just because life has only ever offered me something, has only ever offered me fear. I have to choose the light within. I have to choose to trust that. I have to choose to trust that all those voices who told me I wasn't enough are liars. I have to choose that. I have to find somebody somewhere that says I'm worth it, and I have to believe them for the first time in my life, and that's fucking hard to do. So, don't beat yourself up when you shut it out 1,000 times before you can let it in. Lessons of self-awareness, gratitude, moments of small moments of appreciation every day, especially. I practice the art of discipline, and it brings freedom to my soul. So being diligent about meditation in the concept that you're being present in your life, small acts of presence, okay? Last quarter moon right here. Small acts of presence, these little tiny things where you're like, I am here, I am now, I appreciate my present moment, I am radiating that out from me into the world. Make that a discipline. I don't forget to do that. I don't numb by just being diligent and putting my nose down and doing the work. I am here. When my hands are in the soil, I'm feeling everything the soil has to offer. I'm connecting with the earth. I'm taking these dutiful acts, these small acts of discipline that I am moving through my life, that we all have to do as humans to be alive, and they're joyful tending of my life that I I appreciate being here and I want to be moving through this. I want to share and model how I've found peace at my core, how I've found surrender without trying to prove a point. So just relax into it. Advice and resources, protection. So we are protected again by these ancestors when we are trusting our intuition. Okay, trusting that we are taking the best possible action that we can in this moment, making the best possible decision that is possible in this moment. Again, it might be impossible. There might be no good decisions. Okay, so just trusting, like, maybe I just doing what I can. Neither decision matters or whatever. Like, there's no good path to take, but I have to take one, right? To know that you have to keep moving. There's a flow of life, and eventually, even if it's fucking painful, my God, you don't deserve that. You are worthy. You are resilient. You are magic. You trusting yourself. Your circumstance has nothing to do with you. It is not a reflection of who you are. But choosing to dishonor and betray yourself when the circumstance does not call for you to. Sometimes in life, we need to manipulate circumstance because we are in an impossible situation. But when we are not in an impossible situation, do we choose integrity? What is our character? Okay. Courage. I am courageous, and this energy supports me throughout my life. So we are protected. Why? Choosing to live through our integrity, our intuition, our instinct. But again, we are not just doing damage. We're not doing harm. We're not getting vengeance. We are protecting ourselves. We're seeing things clearly. We are in our natural state. We're feeling it, the instinct. All of these sensations work together, and trusting in our bodies what is right for us, whether it is the choices we're making or what's the circumstances that we're in, but that you do have power in the noticing. Okay, we do have the power in the noticing. This is not right. To start to notice. Again, sometimes we are isolated from that, but to start to notice in every circumstance, I deserve to feel satisfied. I deserve to feel good. I deserve to feel cared for. I deserve to feel nurtured. Eventually we all grow up, and I really, really hope that when you have the choices, when you are free from someone who has chosen to manipulate, hurt, harm, neglect, abuse, use you up, if you ever have had to deal with circumstances like that, that you choose not to believe that they have anything to do with your value and your purpose and what you deserve here and going forward in your life. So you deserve the best. But the best is often based on choice. What we allow in, the boundaries we choose to make, the growth experiences, do we choose to trust ourselves? And there are a lot of things that have across our life experiences that have shown us that that when we are vulnerable, we're used, and all these different things. But again and again and again, we have to choose to trust ourselves at our core and learn from the experiences that we've had. Again, when someone manipulates us, trust that is them. That is a reflection about them, not a reflection on you. Now let's finish this up. Action steps. Realization. Love that. Love that. The courage and protection. The ancient wisdom crystal. I am an expression of the powerful ancient wisdom of my soul. It guides me through life. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about trusting that at your core is guiding you, that you don't need anybody's guidance but your own, that you know what is right for you, okay, that you know that when you make mistakes, you're going to be responsible for the outcome of those mistakes. That's all that matters. That's what growth is. taking responsibility for the outcome of our choices. And if we choose to do that, there's really nothing to be afraid of. You know, there's not a whole lot that can take us out if we choose to be responsible for our own choices, grow from them, let ourselves have the boundaries, the experiences, whatever it takes to harden enough to create the boundaries, and then soften again enough that we can let things in and around us in our lives, because we need to have the experiences, you know, to I guess move us through that sense of naivety, if I'm saying that right, because there are people on this earth, situations that do not care about us, that will use us, hurt us, and we have to know what that feels like. But at the same time, that is not always what's going to happen. We don't have to worry all the time. We don't have to live in stress and anxiety and fear all the time, because we can trust our own senses, our own guidance. You know, when we get too close to things, we know when to step back. And if we do get too close to things and we don't step back in time, we forgive ourselves for making mistakes, because mistakes are part of life. Okay? Our very final messages, this is what brings it all together. The last quarter moon in Cancer, self-care theme, take a breather. What brings it all together? Will. Okay, so that is, I think, from our core again, trusting ourselves and our own will. Strength, I am strong in mind, body, and spirit. So we are standing tall. We are just standing in our source, trusting that we know what is best for us, that no one, even in our mistakes, okay? But remember, there's a difference being flexible within ego and certainty, right? So we have to learn that for ourselves, honestly. A lot of the time we have to understand what ego is and what that feels like, to flex our ego rather than our confidence, and feel ourselves fall on our face, in order to really understand and exercise the strength of will, where we trust ourselves completely. We have to make mistakes. So mistakes are not an issue. We're supposed to make mistakes. That's how we learn. Surrender to the divine. I fucking love it. Beautiful message to finish this up, because that is exactly what we're doing. We're letting go. But in a sweet sense of peace. Okay, giving ourselves that sweet sense of peace as we let go, that there is nothing wrong with rebuilding. Okay, there's nothing wrong with everything falling apart, because a lot of times we've built up lives that we committed to things before we understood what they were. Okay, and so now we come to this different phase, this different experience and understanding. Things have been taken from us, things haven't been fair, things have been done to us, but now we get to understand it differently, and we get to recommit, and we get to rebuild our lives from a place of understanding what we want, who we are, you know, and then taking radical responsibility if and when we make mistakes. When we make mistakes, we make mistakes. So that's why perfectionism, it's so important not to get too caught up on the perfectionism, on the loss. We want to let that inspire our next and our next and our next. So when things feel hard, when they feel painful, use that to inspire us, inspire our energy, to feel this sense of confidence, okay? That we end up strong in our spirit, okay? The iron will, not because it's ego, because we feel strong in our spirit, because we have surrendered ourselves to what is within and around us. We understand the difference, you know, when we're surviving and when we are surrendering. Those are different things, okay? The better it gets. When things happen that cause me to feel good, I know that there are much more good feeling things coming my way. The better it gets, and I keep rising up. So as we make one satisfying choice, we start to believe that we are worthy of a satisfying choices. And that's the shift, okay? When there is space, when there is loss, when things don't go the way that we want, that we create space Okay, it may feel painful at first, emptiness is uncomfortable, but there's a shift happening here. And when we leave the space open, we allow better things to fill it in, but for a while we have to trust that letting that space be open, that discomfort of it being open, is better than filling it in with the old toxic bullshit that was not satisfying us, that we know for a fact was not satisfying us, yet feels a little bit more certain, feels a little more certain than it did, to have this emptiness, this uncertainty at our core. So remembering that uncertainty is uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean that anything is wrong. And there's certainly nothing wrong with you. You deserve the best. You deserve what satisfies your soul, what lights you up. You deserve that in life. Okay. But thinking of it from the perspective of respecting myself, honoring myself, and honoring all those who are in my life, okay? Understanding that when we have certain type of boundaries and there are certain type of authentic people that enter our lives or situations, they feel different, and we can open up and we can trust ourselves and those situations, those people, in a different way. And you only know that from a soul place. You only know that from a place of feeling it, from experiencing it. And we can't ever count on those things to be anything more than a temporary moment of appreciation. But as certain things, even as they don't go our way, we realize that that was better than the experience before it. That was a step forward. And to know that now that this space is open again, something much better must be waiting to fill it in. And we sit in this empty space, in this discomfort, in this meditative space, and we dance in it. We feel this joy radiating through our core. Even though we are letting this space go, it feels peaceful, wonderful, like this serenity. And it is a gift to let go, because in the space, the better and better it gets. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you next week in a brand new self-care theme. Check out the altar cloth or tapestry that I designed. It's this exact layout, and it's a light cloth that you can bring along with you. You can roll out, and there's actually a working QR code that you just scan with your phone, and it brings you straight to our YouTube self-care themes of the month. And it's the perfect size to lay out your own cards. So you can literally just lay them out with me, or you can roll this out anytime you want, scan the QR code, and you can follow along or deepen any message for any self-care theme that you need. Follow us on Facebook so that you can click through and see any messages that we need on demand. So go save that album so you can scan through any messages or energies that you want to unlock are available for you.